Hello and welcome to INE's CCI Collaboration version 3 Learning Path. Today in this video, we will look at setting up GUI access to our CMS. Now at this point of time, our CMS has not been pre-configured. The only thing configured on my CMS is NTP and DNS and an API user. But the web admin has not been configured. It's a completely base setup where the call bridge or the web bridge or the XMPP or even the web admin, nothing has been configured. So at this point of time, if I actually go to my browser and try and access HQ CMS, the headquarters CMS, I'm not able to access because GUI access is disabled by default. You would not be able to access your CMS through the GUI. The only way to access the CMS would be through the CLI. So the first step would be to enable a web admin service so that you can access the CMS through GUI. So let's do that. So the first thing that I would do is log in to my CMS and do an SSH to your CMS and enable the web admin service. Now, obviously, you can enable the web admin service with a self-signed cert. You do require certs, but it could be a self-signed or it could be signed by a CA. Typically, you would want it to be signed by a CA. But right now, just for demonstration, I would use a self-signed cert. So the first thing that I would do would be create my self-signed certs. That's going to be done with the command pki self-signed and give a name. Let's give a name as INE self-signed or maybe INE self. It creates two files for you. One is ineself.key and one is the certificate itself, which is ineself.crt. The next thing that I would do would be activate my web admin service, which is for GUI. The web admin service is also used for ad hoc. So let's create that. That's going to be web admin listen on the port. Now the CMS has one port and that port is A. So let's do a listen A. And then define which self-signed cert or which certs are you going to be using. Since we're using the self-signed cert, I would say web admin certs would be ineself.key and ineself.crt. The last step would be to enable the web admin service. That's going to be with the web admin enable. I should see to success. Now, once you've done this, you should be able to access your CMS through the GUI. Let's in fact go and take the GUI access now to our CMS. So going back to my browser, let's type HQ CMS, which basically resolves through an FQDN through a DNS server to my IP address of my CMS. The web admin by default uses 443. So in case if you want to enable the web bridge for WebRTC, you should change your web admin port to not use 443. So let's go to advanced and accept this. And we should now be able to log in to our CMS through the GUI. Let's try this out. So the username was administrator. In fact, if you want to go and check the list of users, you could go back to your CLI and give the command user list, which basically gives you the list of all the users. So we do have a user called admin and his role is admin. We also have an administrator with even he has the role as admin. I also have one more user, API, which is not an admin user, it's an API user. Let's try logging in with API first. So API, password was API and submit. If I try to log in, it says login failed because this is an API user. He would not be able to log in through the GUI. So you do require the role to be admin to basically have management access to the CMS through the GUI. Let's try logging in with administrator. Password CCI collab. And submit. As you can see, I am able to log in to my CMS through the GUI, and I should be able to look at logs or even look at my configuration and general. So basically now I do have GUI access to my CMS. So if you look at the list of things that we did to enable GUI access, it was pretty straightforward. The first thing that we did was, obviously the first thing was I created a cert. Typically you would want to use a signed cert from a CA, but we used a self-signed cert. The command for that was pki self-sign and a name. It creates two files or two keys for you. One is, let's say if you gave the name as ini self, it would be ini self.key and ini self.crt. The next thing that we did was we defined that the web admin is reachable on which port or which IP. So there's only one IP or one interface on the CMS, which is on A. So it was web admin listen A. And the next thing that we did was assign those self-signed certs to our web admins. That was done with the web admin certs, ini self.key and ini self.crt. And the last step was to enable the web admin service.